Welcome to my theater teacher resource video. This preview offers the same high quality content as my paid lessons. The only difference is that the full versions include both digital and physical interactive notebooks, and the intro and outro of these videos have been removed for a more streamlined student experience. Both are linked below. Now, on to the lesson. Theatrical Lighting Design, Creating the Vision, the designing basics of how to build what you imagine. If you are taking notes, make sure you write down the underlined text in front of these note paper graphics. Don't write down this note, it's just an example. So if you are doing the digital interactive notebook, you're going to be typing the underlined text in these different boxes, and you'll see the graphics on here so you'll know where to type what note. And then if you're doing the interactive notebook that is in the physical interactive notebook, then you'll write the different underlined text in these different areas. You'll need to turn your paper for the physical one. You'll be able to write the ones that are this direction over here in the physical interactive notebook normally, but then when we do these ones, just turn your paper to the side so that you can fit all of the notes in these different sections. Just a quick note that each of these different areas, each of these different sections have 2 slides worth of notes on it. So if you see that the first slide doesn't have a ton of notes on it, don't write your notes really big in that section because there will be a second slide with some additional notes. Basics of design. The qualities form the foundation of your design. So these lines over here are the foundation, and then the lines that are going up are your building. They are the things a designer can control to build their idea. So you build these things up to create your idea on top of them. If you need to pause at any moment to finish filling out your slide, if you're a fast writer, you'll probably be able to keep up, but if not, just pause the video and write down the information before you move to the next slide. The functions form the building of your design. So these are like the walls of your building. This is what the audience experiences as the vision. So this is what they can see. So just like a building, the foundation is underneath the ground and we don't really see that. And then we have the pillars or the walls that come up that we see. So that's what I'm going to kind of liken lighting design to as we move forward through this presentation. So fill out this model with information on the next several slides. These are the qualities / functions and definitions. Qualities, what you can control. So I'm going to keep this up for each of the slides that are defining qualities just as a visual reminder to what we are talking about. So this very top spot that you have on your paper, write this note, and then like I said, there's a second sentence to this note. There's a second part on the next slide, so leave a little bit of space. Colors set the tone and enhance the emotion. So we can control the colors, and they set the tone and enhance the emotion. And I will be moving quickly through this again, so feel free to pause. More notes for color. Every color has positive and negative connotations. So sometimes we think of red as anger, but red can also be love. Here's blue. Blue can be sadness, but also light blues and things like that can indicate happiness, cheerfulness, and hope. So there's a positive and negative to each color. So you want to make sure you remember that so that you don't just think this color is for this thing and kind of get stuck into that box. Next quality is intensity, how bright or dim the lights are. More notes for intensity. If the audience cannot see, then the action does not matter. So if you have a scene that is so dim that the audience can't see what's happening, then what's happening is not going to matter on the stage. If you have young kids that you are lighting for shows that have younger kids in them, oftentimes we make those shows brighter because we want the parents to be able to see their faces. Also, younger actors sometimes have a harder time with facial expressions and emoting their emotions and their characters. So brighter lights helps the audience be able to see and understand what the actor is going for, their emotions more. Movement is moving lights and the timing between cues. Sometimes we think of movement as just lights that are moving, like a spotlight or things of that nature, but the movement between cues, the timing, if it's a fast cue or a slow cue, does matter when we're talking about movement with lights. Over the next 4 slides, we're going to watch the dance scene for Romeo and Juliet when they meet. As you watch, write down how the scene changes. So I'll kind of guide you through this in the beginning, and then I'll let you do your own thing. So right here is our first slide. There is nothing to write for this one because I said to write the changes in the slide. So since this is our first one, this is where we are coming from. So as we transition to the next slide, look for what is changing with the lights in this scene. All right, so right here, not only do we have Juliet that has come on and met our Romeo, but write down the difference in the lighting. I have made this one pretty obvious, and then we'll get with less obvious ones as we go. So I'll give you 10 seconds to write down what you see as the difference in the lighting. All right, and next, so write down how that changed and what changed in the lighting for this scene. You're writing these notes in that little movement box, so you don't need to describe everything happening in the scene, just the lights that you saw change. Okay, I'll give you another 10 seconds. Moving on. And then how did it change from that last scene to this scene? All right, finish up those notes and we will move on to the next one. So another quality is direction. Direction is the angle that the light comes from. A few examples of direction are from the front, from the side, from behind, low angles, so like from where the feet would be, things like that. So it is literally the direction the lighting is coming at your object or your actor. And then the next is distribution. It is the shape and focus. And we'll go over shape and focus in just a second. So shape can also be textured light. For example, here is an example of heart shapes for that textured light. And focus refers to a hard and soft focus. So right here, there's a hard focus. This line around it is very defined. It's either you're in the light or you are out of the light. So over here, we have a soft focus. This middle section is still brighter and highlights them, but if they stepped out of it, it would have a distribution of that light. It would not be just a hard light in the center like this hard focus is with no light on the sides. This one, if they stepped over here, we would still be able to see them easily. So qualities are what you can control. These 5 qualities are the foundations of theater lighting. We've got color, intensity, movement, direction, and distribution. You will have more than just one word written on these boxes. This is just for us to be able to visualize it more easily. And then once you have built your foundation of qualities, we move on to the functions. That is what the audience sees. All of the qualities, the foundation, influence all of the functions, the building. However, as we discuss the functions, we will highlight how certain qualities specifically affect them. So our first function, and you would write it right over here to this side, is visibility. How much the audience can see the actors in the stage. So how visible are things to the audience? More notes for visibility. It's mainly controlled by intensity and distribution. Make sure the audience can see the subject, environment, or specific task happening on the stage. And you want to make sure that the audience can see the emotions and the facial expressions of the actors. The second one is focus. Make sure the performers and scenery are clearly seen and or strategically hidden. So it's mainly controlled by intensity and movement. Stage lighting is like a giant highlighter. Highlights and shadows are designed to show the important moments. So it's not only about what is highlighted, it's also the shadows and what is lurking in the shadows in a lot of different scenes that are happening. So you want to make sure that you have enough light to be able to see all of the important things and the different emotions and facial expressions of the actors. We especially use shadows to clue the audience in on to things that are to come. Next is modeling. We use shadows to show shape. Otherwise, things look flat. Mainly controlled by direction and distribution. The direction of the light plays a big part in how the scene or actor looks. So that direction, the distribution, shows different types of emotions and everything. You do want everything to be seen, but the direction really plays a part in letting them know what the intent of the character. Also, as we get more advanced in theater lighting, we oftentimes use different colors on different sides of the face. Even though we want the full face to be seen, we'll use a brighter light on one side and a little bit of a bluish tint light on the other side to help create those shadows. So it's a bright shadow and we use it color to create the shadow, but it is a shadow so that they don't just look 2D on the stage. Mood sets the emotional vibe of the scene. So it's mainly controlled by intensity and color. Emphasizing the scene's feeling and emotion helps the audience connect with the character's emotions. The last thing we need to talk about is concept. So that goes right up here at the top. Don't write it big like I have written it. Leave some space for a few notes right there. The concept is our roof. Character. Everything that we do, all of the functions and all of the qualities need to fit underneath the umbrella of the concept. If it is outside of the scope of the concept, you don't want to be putting it into your show. So the concept is your idea or theme. Take your director's concept, their idea, and create your own show. For example, maybe you're doing lighting for Romeo and Juliet, and the director wants to highlight hope. So you decide to have a white light in every scene, no matter how sad it is, to show hope. Hope for the future, hope for things that might come. So that would be you taking your director's concept of showing the hope of this young couple, Romeo and Juliet, and hope for their families after they pass on, that things can change and can be better. And so you would carry that with lighting throughout the entire show. Now, concept doesn't just have to be one specific idea, like creating a light that carries through the show. It could be something very different depending on what your director's themes and ideas are. Concept, be able to easily explain it. We do presentations about our concept. In other words, why are you going to do the design in this way? Be creative and have fun. And here is an example of that concept I was talking about earlier. Quick review of function. Function is what the audience will notice. And these are some questions as the designer it's important to ask yourself. Visibility, what can the audience see? Focus, where does the audience look? Mood, how does it feel? And modeling, how do we give the show dimension? Make sure you got all the notes, whether it's typed up in the digital version or written on the interactive notebook. Of course, you can go back to any slides you missed and re-watch that part or pause and type up the notes. Once you're done, let's talk or think about, if you are at home, different shows you have seen with amazing lights and why you liked them. Please help support me by checking out the link to my growing Technical Theater Teachers Pay Teachers shop. Teachers, please like and share so I can continue making content.